Start then. Om Sadashivasamarampham Shankaracharya Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Okay, one more person joining in. Okay. So now, any questions, clarifications on what we are doing? Or it's all clear? Okay, I'm assuming all clear. I
Sir,
think.
one question I have.
Yeah.
Sir, verse number 67. In the
Verse.
explanation, 67.
Yeah. What is the
And
question?
it says, question is when we go to the meaning, in the book, my book, it talks of homogeneous consciousness.
What it talks of?
Homogeneous consciousness.
Homogeneous.
Homo-
Okay.
What exactly does it mean, homogeneous consciousness?
When you say your milk is homogeneous, what does it mean?
I never say it actually. Milk is homogeneous.
I know you don't say a lot of things, but what do you generally understand by the meaning of the word homogeneous?
It is neither.
Of one nature only, right?
One.
There is no mixture in it. So when you say homogeneous consciousness, you are talking about one nature only. There is nothing but consciousness. Yeah. I mean, it is not a word related to homophobic or something like that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what may have been in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad. I think I know my students well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 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 So we did the 68th verse also last time.
Yeah.
69th also we had completed. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
69th also we completed. So, okay. So the nature of Brahman, okay. That's what the subject matter is, and that's what's continuing as. न बाह्यं मध्यतवन्तः विदिते अन्यस्वतः क्वचित् आबाह्यन्त श्रुतेः किञ्चित् समक्षुद्धं स प्रभुः न बाह्यं न मध्यस्थः न तो अन्तः विद्यते न तो अन्यतः क्वचित्. There is neither outside nor inside or in between madhyastha, nor is there anything other than it. Now look at it, okay. When you are talking about the nature of the consciousness, it says there is nothing outside the consciousness. Why? Because it is limitless. There cannot be anything outside. But what about inside? It says inside is if there is a possibility of an outside. No? Otherwise, inside has no meaning. Na madhyastham, not in between. Like when Hiranyakashipu had asked for a boon, he had said, he first asked for immortality. Says that's not available. Brahmaji told him that's not available. Even I am not immortal. My life is limited. It may be much, much mind-bogglingly longer than your life, but immortality doesn't exist except for the nature of the Atma. All right. Then he said he laid down conditions under which he cannot be killed, thinking that he has covered everything. But remember, words are limited, therefore you cannot cover everything. So one of the conditions was he should not be killed inside the house nor outside the house. Nor on the ground nor in the sky. And exactly as ordered, Vishnu came in that avatara. Neither inside nor outside. Then on the step, traditional houses have a step which divides the outside and the inside of the house. Padi you call it. Like how you have the door, a small strip. So it's neither outside nor inside the border. Neither in the sky nor on the ground. Put him on his lap. So similarly, if there is a possibility of inside and outside, then you can have something in between. There is only one consciousness, therefore neither inside nor outside. Then he says, Anyatah swataha kvachat. There is nothing other than it also. Why? Everything that you experience as other is nothing but an apparent manifestation of the same existence consciousness. Therefore, really speaking, there is nothing other than it. There is nothing other than the consciousness. Neither inside, nor outside, nor in between, nor anything other. He says, where do you get all these ideas from? Abhahyantarah shrutehe kucha. He says, this is a Shruti. This is a Shruti Vakya, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. This is a Shruti Vakya for it. Okay? He says, Tasmat Shuddham Swayam Prabha. Tasmat Shuddham. What was said as homogeneous before. In the 67th verse. Shuddham. Because pure is a relative statement. And I don't like to use the word pure because it comes loaded with lot of Occidental concepts. Okay? Of morality and things like that. We are not dealing with those issues here. We are not dealing with those issues. If I am looking for silica, sand, even gold can be an impurity. Well, what I want is silica, sand. But there are gold flakes in it. Impurity. Remove it. I am looking for an experiment. I want silica. But gold is precious. Maybe. If I am looking for gold, then the silica is impurity. Meaning what? There should be something other than it of the same degree of reality for it to be contaminated. Silica and gold are the same degree of reality. That's why I deliberately use the scientific term for it. Aurum, you should have used gold. Same degree of reality. Only then you can say or talk about contamination, etc. Brahma Satyam, Anyat Sarvam Mithya. That's why he said there is nothing other than it. Everything else is just a manifestation. Everything else is just a manifestation. Therefore, where is everything else? There is no everything else. There is no anything else. All that is there is one Brahman. And Swayam Prabha. Swayam Prabha. Swayam Prabha. Known by itself, you don't need anything, you can't objectify the Atman. nor do you need to objectify. You don't need another light to see the sun. Same way Swayam Prabha. But to know yourself, you need the Shruti. Now, what about that? The Shruti is meant to remove the ignorance in your mind. It is not, the Shruti is not proving your existence. It's only removing your ignorance about what is the nature of their existence. Shruti is not coming and saying you are an awareful being. You already know that. If you did not know that, no amount of Shruti will help you. You don't doubt the fact you are awareful. How much awareful you may question. You don't question your existence. Why am I like this, you may question. That's a different thing. Or you may defend it also. What to do, I am like this only. I think Indians as a whole should have a good self-esteem to say that. What to do, I am like this only. Or there is a lot of ignorance. They don't know what needs to be done. But the fact you exist, you are awareful, the Shastra doesn't have to say. What is the nature of their existence, their awarefulness, that the Shastra may have to say. Therefore, Shastra also doesn't objectify the Atma. That's why you also have to recognize it without objectification. All that we have seen in Akhanda Akara Vritti, etc. Okay? I hope all of you remember what the Akhanda Akara Vritti is. Yaad hai na? Nod if you remember. Okay. Yeah, otherwise how do I know? It's okay, even if you are lazing around, you can nod. That's why I want you all to put on your video so that I can make out whether you are understanding or not understanding. Otherwise, how do I understand whether you know it or not? Yeah. I don't know why this great hesitation in not turning on your videos. I can understand if your connection is very weak. Otherwise, what is the hesitation? Okay, you may be eating something, drinking something. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I know we are coming to your home. So I'm okay with
Swamiji,
that.
we don't look smart like you all the time, that is the problem.
That's okay. It doesn't matter. You are not here for your appearance. And I think all of you look good as you are. So don't have to worry about my judgment.
I also think we all look very good.
Yeah, then. So put it on.
Connection with the Guru is weak. So.
Yeah, the connection with the Guru has to be seen exactly. Yeah, because otherwise it becomes very difficult to understand whether you are understanding, not understanding, because all of you are on mute also on top of it. And it's appropriate that you are in mute because there may be background noises. Yeah. I know today there is a background noise here also. Normally it is not there, but today it is there. But I can't put myself on mute. I can only minimize that by closing the windows, everything. Yeah. So, those are the limitations of this medium. And we have to do the best we can to overcome those limitations. Okay. One of that is by turning your video.
Sir, tell us once again about Akhanda Akara Vritti.
You okay? Good. Say that, na. If you are not clear, I don't have issues on that.
So I could not unmute myself.
Okay. How you can't unmute yourself? I don't know.
Immediately I could not do it. Now I have done it.
Okay. All right. As the example goes, when you are seeing an object, pen in my hand, there are two operations taking place in the mind. One, the mind has to take the form of this object. Second, you, the knower, have to objectify it and say, this is a pen. Only then the knowledge is complete. These are two operations that take place in your mind. First is called Vritti Vyapti. Second is called Phala Vyapti. Vritti Vyapti, the Vritti taking the form of the object. Phala Vyapti, you objectifying it and saying this is it.
Yes.
Now, because of the teaching, the words of the Shastra, if knowledge has to take place, Vritti Vyapti has to take place. Because Vritti Vyapti removes the distance between you and the object in terms of time, space and ignorance. Now, the mind, because of the teaching, the mind has to take the form of the object. Here the object happens to be the subject I, which is limitlessness. So when the mind takes the form of the limitlessness, what happens to that mind? Vritti Vyapti takes place, but it's the thought of resolution. After that, who's left to objectify and say this is the Atma? Nobody is left, because along with the thought, the knower is also resolved. Therefore, there is no subject-object relationship. The mind is resolved into that consciousness. But the resolution happens with the thought of recognition, with the Vritti Vyapti. Not resolving it through a practice. It is not being resolved through a practice. It is being resolved through that recognition, Vritti Vyapti. So this operation, where Vritti Vyapti takes place, but Phala Vyapti cannot take place, need not take place. Phala Vyapti is what connects you and the object. This is a pen. There is a subject-object connection here. That connection is not possible with the Atma, nor is it necessary, because you are already connected to the Atma as I am that consciousness. Atma means I. The connection already exists. You don't need a separate connection. That is why it's called Swayam Prabha, Swayam Jyoti, Swata Siddham. All these terms are used because of that. I know I am. So there is ignorance with respect to what I am. That the Vritti Vyapti takes care of it, negates that. What is left behind? I. There is no need nor a possibility of Phala Vyapti. Only Vritti Vyapti is there. Such a Vritti is called an Akhandakara Vritti. The form of the Vritti is Akhandam, unbroken by subject-object relationship or anything else. Because the Vritti itself is limitlessness, meaning it is resolved into that limitless consciousness. It is there, but it is resolved. It is different from your mind being resolved in deep sleep. Clear or any questions?
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So Swamiji, it is like any vritti, no? It will happen and it will go away, no? So it is momentary, the thing will be, no?
Yes. Kritva jnanam swayam nashyet. Having given you that knowledge, that vritti will also die down. No vritti lasts in your mind forever. But the knowledge that vritti gives you will be there in your mind. Like anything else. Is the pen vritti there in your mind now? Until I said it, it is not there in your mind. And when I am talking about something else, it will go away. But the knowledge that it is a pen will remain in your mind. Similarly, this knowledge also remains in your mind.
But Swamiji, this which does not remain in the mind.
Vritti will not remain, knowledge will remain. Vritti means thought. Which thought remains permanently in your mind? Tell me which thought remains permanently. No thought can remain.
But I'm saying, Swamiji, even the knowledge seems like in class it feels like we've understood. And then after class, when I'm looking at my notes, I feel like I have to re-listen, I have to...
True. Because clarity may not have been there. Understanding may be weak. Vritti Vyapti, the Akhandakara Vritti has not yet taken place. That's what it shows.
But in the moment when you're speaking, I feel
It
like
is,
I've understood.
you have been learning it conceptually. That is the issue. If after so many texts, you still think there is a lot more to be learned. See, text-wise, there may be a lot to be learned. But that recognition, that vision, yes, this is me, That has to happen. Even after that happening, there may have to be some clarity of details gained, nuances gained. That's okay. So that's why many of my students, they attend the Gita, etc. Then, if I'm starting the Gita class somewhere else, they still listen to it again. Why? Because it gives them greater clarity. That's okay. That's fine.
But I agree.
So it just gives you greater clarity. That's okay to do that. Especially,
Swamiji, one.
yeah,
Sorry, please finish, Swamiji.
yeah. So especially when the class is taking place on Zoom, because the distractions are many. Whereas if you are in a hall or in someone's sitting room or something like that, distractions are very, very limited. It's a controlled environment. This is in your home. There will be disturbances, I understand that. Therefore, your listening may not be as good as it is if it's in a class, unless you can control the environment to prevent you from being disturbed. Now, if you can afford to lock yourself up in a room, great. Even if the bathroom doesn't matter. Yeah. Because no disturbances, that's all I want, that you are not disturbed. Yeah. So that is difficult, I know, I accept that. Therefore, this is not the ideal medium for a class. And it is also involves developing the mind's ability to focus in spite of all disturbances. In an ashram class also there can be disturbances. Like in Coimbatore, the peacocks calling out. They're pretty loud, you know. Yeah, it can be disturbances. An elephant trumpeting in the distance, it's a disturbance. Or an elephant trumpeting close by, it's even bigger disturbance. Why they come down before the rains looking for water? Because the water holes on top dry up. Yeah. So they come down looking for water. I had planted 3,000 trees there in the Coimbatore ashram and no fruit trees. And some idiot went and put jackfruit trees. You can imagine what will happen at elephants and jackfruit. They'll smell it miles away. And they come for the jackfruit. Disturbances are there anywhere. The ability of the mind to focus. Can be done. I must thank my mother for that. She was hard of hearing and she would put the TV full blast. And I had to do all my work with the TV full blast. It's conversation, okay? So I became more focused. Though it messed up my hearing. A little bit more it messed up. So that's okay. If you can focus, you're fine. Yeah, Karthik, you had a question.
Yes, Swamiji. On the topic of Akhandakara Vritti,
Yeah.
So when I do a subjective analysis, the Tvampada Vichara, right, I come to the fact that I am the awareness, Atma. Right? When I do the objective analysis, I realize that this whole Jagat is nothing but Brahman, the substratum is Brahman. Now, when it comes to the fact that awareness and existence are indeed one and the same thing, see, I am able to arrive at it through logic. I can say that you can't have consciousness independent of existence. They have to be the same thing, essentially. But that last bit of it, I arrive at using analysis. Is that Akhandakara Vritti or
No.
is that still a conceptual?
If at the end of that analysis,
Yeah.
for a split second, your mind is frozen in that recognition, that is true. You know what they call as a experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If for that split second your mind is frozen in that appreciation, in that yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
That is Akhandakara vritti.
Hmm.
You can't utter anything. It's gone. It may go after that, the analysis may come back again.
Okay.
That's okay. But for that split second, if it is there,
Hmm.
like in the class, it happens to many people. I recognize it happening. On this medium, difficult, but on the live class, I recognize it happening.
It does, Swamiji, often.
Huh? Yeah, but it's only for a split second, it moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my teaching is fast. I mean, teaching is progressive, it moves. Your mind also moves. So it won't remain there for a long time, it's not necessary. But you have to recognize that you have recognized it. Is that much there? Are you awareful enough to say, yeah? There may still be other doubts coming in and etc. That's why we say that knowledge has to be retrieved from vagueness and doubts and things like that.
Got it, Swamiji. What I find is as I keep iterating through this, I'm able to, leave aside a lot of the unnecessary details.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through every iteration, you get more and more refined. You remove a lot of noise. Your signal to noise ratio tends to keep improving. That's my observation.
Good. So you're moving from Mananam to actually Nididhyasana.
Okay.
You're moving from that. And Nididhyasana will be when you just take one word and make sense to you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.
Okay.
So Swamiji, it's something like this, no, that if you are exposed to Shastra, then you have that Samadhi-like experience. So that will be that moment, no, when the mind completely resolves.
Yeah. Though it may be only for a split second, okay? It's not the length of time. Because it's a thought, it has to move forward. Whereas generally Samadhi is cessation of thought. Therefore, that you can remain for some time. I mean, all of you do it, na? With no thoughts, you will remain for a long time, isn't it? 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. Especially if it is Sunday morning. Yeah, you will remain without thoughts for a long time anyway. So, that's okay. When you sleep, you can remain. A thoughtless state can remain for a long time. A thought will move because the thought will die out. So sometimes you will practice a bit of concentration so that the thought can remain in your mind long enough for you to appreciate it.
Will it be an experience or only a recognition?
Beg your pardon, Surendra? What were you saying?
Is it an experience? It is only a experience or a recognition.
It's a recognition, not an experience.
No.
Experience depends on subject-object division. Recognition is about the I. Now recognition in case of the pen is subject-object. In case of the I, without subject-object. So why I am talking about concentration? Why? Focus. Concentration meaning paying attention, mind in focus. What is that? Like holding on to the thought for some time. It can be anything. It can be focus on your breath. Focus. Quieten your breath, keep quietening it, focus on the breath. Because then that same thought is there for a long time. Or focus on an Ishta Devata, a Manasa Puja, etc. Where you are focusing on the thing. That can be done. Or in Japa Dhyanam, we are focusing on the silence. And then shifting from the silence to myself. That's recognizing that silence is nothing but myself. Then the nature of that silence is pure awareness. Now all this has become contemplation. So one moves into the other. So contemplation is you are holding on to that thought for some time. So that it can sink in. Hold on, let me finish. The contemplation is holding on that thought for some time so that it sinks into you. Because in the teaching it lasts only for an instant. Yeah. So this sinks into you, and one needs to do that contemplation. Unless your Uttamadhikari is like how Arjuna was, or Shvetaketu was, or Gargi was. If you are like them, then no need. But since we are not like them, we need to do contemplation. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Sashi, what was your question?
A question, sir. Sometimes I find it difficult not to differentiate between recognition and experience. For example, as Nidhu also said, all of us do have this recognition for 1 second or maybe half a second, and then we stay there. Then how do I describe later? I will say, no, I experienced. What do I? There I get a.
So therefore, you are not being precise in your choice of words. That's all it means. Now tell me one thing.
Yes, sir.
Are you recognizing this pen or are you experiencing this pen?
Recognizing.
Then with respect to recognition, why are you using the word experience?
Then, sir, when I describe it to my friends, I said, sir, they
Ah.
showed us a pen. I
So
looked
when
at
you
it.
describe this to your friend, you can say, my teacher held up a pen in his hand and asked us to recognize it. Did he ask you to experience it?
No, sir, you did not ask.
Then why are you saying experience?
No, sir, I look at it and I remember, oh God, that particular person had that pen.
I don't
And
know.
that-
I don't know why you are using it. You ask yourself why you are using the word experience. I have no clue why you are using the word experience. Okay, let me go one step further. This can be applicable to everyone. When you put a few crystals of sugar on your tongue and get the sweetness of it, is that recognition or experience?
Experience, sir.
Experience. It's an experience.
Great. Surendran, after 30 years you are saying experience.
No, you sweetness, you are
You
experiencing.
should be glad that this is not a live class. Experience? What is the sense organ?
Sweetness.
Surendran, answer my question. What is the sense organ to recognize sweetness?
Tongue.
What is the sense organ to recognize the color of this pen?
Eyes.
So the sense organ to recognize sweetness is tongue. Now tell me that sweetness is recognition or experience?
Recognition.
It should be both, sir.
You are stuck on the word experience, that is why.
Yeah, you have to take me out, no?
No, you have to get yourself out. I have said enough. Dig yourself out of the hole you have got into.
But sir,
Remember,
something
when-
else.
Sashi, remember this statement.
Okay, sir.
Whenever a pramana is used, it is recognition. In fact, all that you call as experience is nothing but recognition plus your emotional states. अरे गुलाब जामुन खाया बहुत मजा आया. I ate this gulab jamun. I had a great experience eating it. Now, what do you mean by experience there?
Maja aaya.
The emotion that backed it up. There is a recognition and an emotion. So, when you include that emotion, you will call it an experience. It's a very loosely used word. It is not precise like recognition is. Recognition, knowledge is very precise. You recognize something. You recognize yourself. After that, you can experience some joy, ananda, in your life. That is different. You recognize your ananda. Now I am making a statement. Understand this well. You recognize your ananda and then later on experience some joy in your life. Are you understanding the difference? You
And,
recognize your ananda
that
and then
the
experience
is
some joy in your life.
the experience is subsequent event.
How does it become subsequent? What does the first ananda mean then? When I say you recognize ananda, what does that word mean, ananda? I think ये क्लास में भी थोड़ा होमवर्क देना पड़ेगा.
So Swamiji, where you don't have a choice, right? I mean, it's like if you keep a pen in front of me, I don't have a choice, right?
Yeah.
So that is a recognition.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what I take out of that afterwards, oh, it's a good pen, bad pen, that is the experience that
Yeah.
I'm superimposing on that. Right?
Yeah. So when I am saying ananda, what is the meaning of the word ananda?
Anantam.
Anantam, yes, limitlessness. When you recognize your ananda meaning limitless, then you will experience some joy in your life, because that is what your limitlessness nature manifesting in your mind. I have said all this n number of times in the class, right?
Yes, sir, we have heard all this.
So when the ananda manifests in your mind, it manifests as joyfulness, happiness, etc. Therefore, ananda, really speaking, is a lakshana word, a word used in an implied sense, meaning limitlessness. But because the word ananda is used, non-traditional teachers will take it as an experience. And students who listen to all the non-traditional teachers or read books which written by non-traditional teachers or start discussing among themselves the books that they have not heard will take it as an experience and get stuck. I have put 3 conditions because of which you take it as an experience. Okay.
Ananda Kosha? That becomes the Kosha.
Yes, Kamini?
And that becomes Anandmay Kosha.
Yeah. When you are saying you are experiencing ananda, really speaking, it is Anandamaya Kosha. Yeah. That's why we saw it in Taittiriya Upanishad. He talked about Dehevatma, Annamaya Kosha. Then he talked Anyontratma Pranamaya, Anyontram Manomaya, Anyontram Vijnanamaya, Anyontram Anandamaya. Then he doesn't say Anyontratma Ananda Swarupa, he doesn't say that. If you remember Taittiriya Upanishad, he doesn't say that. He says Brahma Pucham Protishtam, Brahman is the basis for this Anandamaya Kosha also. And for all the koshas, what is the basis? Brahman. Because had he said Anyontratma, what would you take it as? Within some small tiny little thing somewhere. No. Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. The basis for the whole thing is Brahman. So the Anandamaya Kosha comes close in that sense alone. Okay. Am I making sense to you all of you?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. Any other questions or shall I go ahead?
No, sir. So then the Mahavakya could be Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam.
Yeah.
We say Anand and then we say no. It is not Ananda, it stands for Anantam.
Correct. Why do we say that? Since you quoted Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Where is it presented as Anandam also?
No, sir, I don't know. Ananda.
You don't know? I think, Sashi, it is high time you stop discussing other books with your friends and discuss the books that you have studied.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that I am doing now.
that is where their confusions are coming from. Because you are discussing things that you have not studied and getting thoroughly confused with whatever
Yeah, yeah.
translations or commentaries that you all are using.
Okay, that I have stopped.
Okay. Then look, where does Ananda come in Taittiriya Upanishad? It comes in two places. याद है?
No, sir. Satyam Jnanam.
Satyam Jnanam Anantam it is.
Achha,
You remember
no,
there is something called Ananda Mimamsa?
Yes.
आनंद मीमांसा याद है? स एष युवः आशिष्टः बलिष्ठः दृढिष्ठः. Here is a young person, आशिष्टः, good conduct, etc. बलिष्ठः, आशिष्टः, well educated. बलिष्ठः, strong, powerful person. दृढिष्ठः, firm in his word, etc. And the whole world, the wealth of the whole world is with him. Experientially, this is one unit of Manushyananda. 100 units Gandharvananda, 100 units Deva Gandharvananda, 100 units, it goes on like that. So there, Brahmanananda, and all that belongs to Shotriyasya cha Akamahatasya, to this person who is a Shotriya and Akamahataha, Brahmanishtaha. All that is described in Ananda Mimamsa. There is another place where the Ananda is used. Where is that? Come on, in the same Taittiriya. I think I should ask this class to summarize all the Upanishads once again before I teach anything else. You remember there was a teacher called Varuna in the Taittiriya Upanishad, and a student called Bhrigu. याद है कि नहीं याद है? अभी याद आ गया? Where it has come? Bhrigu vai varunihi swam pitaram upasasara. Bhrigu, son of Varuni, approached his father. Adihi Devo Brahmeti. Oh Lord, please teach me about Brahman. And what is the teaching? Can someone repeat that? What is the teaching? It's okay if you don't remember the Sanskrit. Tell it to me in English. What is the teaching?
The Guru tells the Shishya to go and find out for himself. I think if
before
is
that,
the story.
before that he gives 3 lines as teaching.
Because of which everything is born, because of which everything is sustained.
Yes.
And
He gives a definition of Ishvara actually. Saguna Brahman he gives. Yato imani bhutani jayante, yato jatani jivanti, preti abhisham vishanti iti. From where everything is born, by which everything is sustained, and into which everything is resolved, know that to be Brahman. Tapasa Brahma Vijijñāsasva. By tapas, contemplation, vicharaha, understand it. Tapo Brahmeti, take tapas as your Brahman right now. Because only through that you will gain it. It's highlighting 2 things. Ananda is Anantam, plus the necessity of independent vichara, which is lacking in the students. That independent vichara. Because otherwise, how do you know? How do you make it your own? The knowledge has to become yours, na? How can it be yours if you don't do enough swadhyaya? Again in the Taittiriya first section, swadhyaya has come in. In the valedictory address, when the students are passing out POP, passing out parade. Okay, nowadays passing out is not a correct term because passing out means fainting. That is American English. But passing out parade is an old expression that's going for hundreds of years. Okay, as long as there were military academies, passing out parade was always there. So there he says that Swadhyayena na pramaditavyam. From Swadhyaya, don't have any laziness with respect to that. Regularly do Swadhyaya. Yeah. To the graduates of the Gurukula, he is talking about that. Because they are no more in direct touch with the teacher every day. So don't tell me I'll be in direct touch with the teacher. I will attend a class every day. Sab Zoom mein hai na. I will give it to you in writing, it won't work. I'll stake my reputation of 35 years as a teacher or more as a teacher to on that. Because it won't work. Unless you do enough independent thinking, it won't work. The Shastra is not foolish to say Atma Vare Drashtavyaha. Darshanarthanam kim kartavyam? What should you do for darshanam? Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha. Do a lot of Shravanam. Do a lot of Mananam. Mananam is that Swadhyaya, independent thinking. And Nididhyasanam. Unless, as I said, you are an Uttama Adhikari, then the problem doesn't come up. Yeah, okay.
Swami, just one question I wanted to ask on Akhandakara Vritti.
Yeah.
So right now when we are studying that, Akhandakara Vritti remains for some time, comes and goes at recognition. But when we say that I'm rooted in knowledge, the clarity will be so much that Vritti will not come and go. That Vritti itself will resolve. Is that true?
Yeah. Vritti will always be resolved. Remember one thing, Vritti means thought. So the thing that Shankara says very nicely in Atma Bodha is Kritva Jnanam Swayam Nashit. Having given you the knowledge, it dies down. Knowledge remains, the Vritti will not remain. The knowledge will remain. Vritti will not remain, not meant to remain. It will be problematic for you. Supposing this Vritti pen is there in your mind, you cannot know anything else. Everything else will be superimposed on pen. If at all there is Vritti of anything else, but there is no Vritti of anything else. Only pen. It has to die. That's why the nature of the mind is to change. It has to change. So Vritti will keep happening, changing. Even Akhandakara Vritti has to change. I was just imagine, Brahmasmi. That is true. Then you are frozen. Permanently. You can't even teach. What to teach? Huh? It will be like somebody sitting in Samadhi. Break a coconut on his head and build a tomb around it. और क्या करने के? So the Vritti has to go.
No, sir, one more question. Sorry for troubling. So you said Vritti goes. Okay, fine. But sometimes knowledge also goes. For example, Taittiriya I have done.
Which knowledge are you talking about? Atma Jnanam or something else?
No, not Atma Jnanam. This you were asking, no. In Taittiriya, during lockdown, I have studied fully from that fat book which Falguni had given me. today when we were asking questions, I could not remember. Knowledge also had gone.
That shows how great the mind is. Yeah. It happens to all our school and college students.
Okay.
Why? Don't say okay, Sashi. Understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
There is one level of ignorance, and this ignorance has to go for it to be called knowledge. Like,
Yes.
this is a pen. Will this go out of your mind that this is a pen?
No.
Why? Because this is recognition. Now what happens is, like our school students, there is one level of ignorance, and they are studying physics. Let us say they are studying thermodynamics, laws of heat. So conduction, convention, conduction, all that they studied. Okay. What the third form? Looks like everyone has forgotten physics. Okay. Huh? What is that?
Radiation.
Huh? Surendran, what is that? Sorry, I can't hear Sundar.
Radiation is a radiation.
Radiation, yes. So now you study. But then I asked them a question. You have 2 pots of hot water and 2 blocks of ice. Same quantity water, pot, ice, everything. On one pot, can you all see and hear me?
Internet gets disturbed in this area.
Okay, let's stop this.
Okay, can you all see and see me now, or you can't see me?
Okay.
No,
I
no,
can
no,
hear
no.
you.
Okay, you can't see you.
But
Can
we
hear
can
you.
hear you that.
We can hear.
You are not able to see you.
I was saying hot water and ice.
Okay, I'm trying to get into my hotspot. Okay, we are having a small problem with the network, so please wait. Okay, can you all see me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm back on. I hope most of you are there in the class. Okay, yeah. I try to, my laptop is not picking any of the signals. Okay, now back here,
Yes, sir.
as I, where I left off, where our students, there is a basic level of ignorance as far as thermodynamics is concerned. They studied everything, but if I ask them a question, whether the pot of water will cool down if you keep the block of ice on top of the pot or under the pot, they don't know which one it is. I am sure many here also will not know which one it is, even though all of you have studied about conduction, convection, radiation, etc. in school. Please tell me which will cool faster. Engineers will know. Engineers will know. Anyway, whatever it is, if they can't answer what it does it show, it shows that some information has been superimposed on their ignorance. They are not really understood. So very often when you are trying to study Vedanta and you are studying it in that manner, Swamiji said this, Swamiji said that. Okay. Now I got my notes, I got it all clear. It is lot of information being superimposed without the basic ignorance going away. If the basic ignorance has gone away, it will be like this pen. You'll never forget it's a pen. It's a pen. But very often it is ignorance with the superimposition of information. That is why there needs to be clarity of understanding. Not just keeping on reading it, looking at it, etc. Question every word. What does it mean? What does Satyam mean? What does Jnanam mean? What does Anantam mean? But just now you said Anantam is Anandam. Very difficult to remain as Ananda. For me, not for you all. So there is where I am saying, okay, that clarity has to come in. It has to be knowledge It is not just information that you are mugging when you are studying Vedanta. That's easy. That's easy. A couple of years back, I went to a setup where people are studying Vedanta and they are talking in Sanskrit, conversing in Sanskrit, and they say things so fast that it's very difficult for even someone like me to catch it. Very scholarly. But when I am questioning them on fundamentals, I am finding there is a lot of lack of knowledge there. Even though they can rattle off all the verses, all that thing they can do. If I ask them a question, they'll quote 3 verses. Then I'll tell them, okay, what does it mean? Tell me that. So that clarity has to come in. For that, this is where Mananam, Swadhyaya comes in, where every word is questioned until you have distilled your understanding from it. That's why I said, if you attend a class every day, you are not going to get it. But if you do this, you will get it. Attend a couple of classes, yes. But then do this thinking. Swamiji, time nahi hai. But if I have to attend a class, somehow I will make time. Somehow make time for this also. I mean, you can do this anything. When you're going for a walk also, you can do this. The walking may slow down sometimes. And be careful, you're not walking in an area where there is a lot of traffic. But there is time to watch Netflix, Amazon, and whatever. So make the time. Up to you. If you want moksha, make the time. If you don't want moksha, it's not up to me, it's up to you. Whether you want moksha enough or not. Obviously, when you are going for many classes and you are making an effort to even discuss, etc., obviously you want moksha. Then follow it the proper way, like how I am saying. Then you will get it. Spend that time thinking on it. Like I know some people here, where every day they have a class. You are wasting your time. Think. That will help better. Okay. And one guide for thinking is telling you in the next verse. Neti neti tyadi shastrebhyah prapanchopashamaha dvayah avijñādi shastrācha naiva jñēyā hi ataha anyata. Neti neti ityadi shastrebhyah. By the shastra that says neti neti iti, meaning negation. Negation of all that you are not. Very important. To arrive at yourself as pure consciousness, you have to negate all either identities, functional identities that you have. As a functional identity, it is not a problem. The problem is, it is taken as me. Because I don't know what I am, all my functional identities will be taken as me. And that is where the problem is. So when you negate those things, when you negate that, he says, prapancho upashamaha advayaha. What do you come to? Advayaha, the non-dual reality. Prapancho upashamam, the resolving point of the entire universe. That's why 2 netis, 1 neti for myself at the individual level, 1 neti at the total level. Neti neti iti, prapancho upashamam advayaha. Then, avijñātādi shastrascha naiva jñēyah Ki etaha anyataha. Then what? By the Shastra that says Abhijnata Adi Shastra. It is what is unknown. The Atma will always remain unknown, it says. But I have to know the Atma, no? Yes. But the Atma is also presented as unknown. How is that possible? That's why deliberately that it is used like that. Why? Then you will think. Otherwise you will not think. How is it both to be known at the same time unknown? Tell me. Let the class answer for a change.
I know.
Yeah, Sundar, tell me. Sundar, tell me.
Unknown as an object of our awareness.
Exactly. But it has to be known as myself. Yeah. So, like this, look at the presentation. First, neti neti iti. You are negating all your false concepts about yourself. And do we not have a lot of false concepts about ourselves?
Yes.
N number of concepts we have about ourselves. Huge amount of concepts. Yeah, with all the roles that you play, including I am the responsible one, I am the useless one, I am the helpless one, all those are also concepts. Self-judgments. It's not just I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the thing. No, you have to go into these details as well. I am not the body, I am not the mind is a fundamental thing that the Shastra is doing. But you have your own special ones in your mind. Based on the roles that you play. I am a warrior. I am a healer. Both identities difficult to drop. Because you have bought yourself into it very strongly. A warrior risks his life. Therefore, if you are ready to do that, it's a strong identity. A healer believes you are saving lives. Again, strong identity. Difficult to drop. I am leaving mother for the time being because I have spoken enough on it. Yeah. So these are strong identities. Are special ones which depending upon what role I am playing. Therefore I need to learn to negate that also. Retrieve myself from that identity. And from the totality also look at all this as mithya. Their neti is all with mithyatvam. Not that here it is not with mithyatvam, here also it is with mithyatvam. How would you like it if I tell you your role as a healer or warrior or mother, etc., mithya? Immediately the counter will come. But Swamiji, it is important to know. Sometimes you must hear us teachers talking about among us, among the teachers, what to do with these characters who say like that. Why? Because there we are dropping our teacher role. Teacher is another role only with respect to the student. In fact, with me, only when I sit in the Vyasapita, I am teacher, not otherwise. It's okay if the Vyasapita is a sofa, okay? Only then I am a teacher, otherwise I am not a teacher. Dropped. Unless someone asks me a question, then the teacher role may come up. Okay. So, that is where it is. You drop all these rules, retrieve. That means, what are you doing really speaking? From you, the conscious being, because you know, I am a conscious being, that much you know. And this conscious being has a lot of roles. From me, the conscious being, I am dropping all the roles, negating all the roles. From me, I am negating the fact that I am a human being, that body and mind. When I say I am a human being, that means body and mind. Human body, human mind. Negated. Understanding, no, I am free from all that, I am the witness of all that. And that is the same as that which is behind the whole creation, that pure consciousness that is there. Prapanchopashamam. That Brahman that is presented as Ishvara. From there I have negated the whole universe. What is left behind is only pure consciousness. That Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman is I am. When you see yourself as that, when you recognize that, it is called Akhandakara Vritti. When you keep trying to be in that understanding, it is called contemplation, Nididhyasana. The process is Mananam when you are doing it on your own. When you are doing it with the teacher, it is called Shravanam. Can you see that? It's all aspects of the same thing. When the teacher does it for you, it is Shravanam for you. When you do it on your own, it is Mananam. When you stay in that understanding, it is Nididhyasanam. Making sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. This is how you study.
So maybe that unknown part is still not very clear.
What is that? Sashi speaking, right? No, Vijay Lakshmi. Okay. Just tell me, Vijay, what is the question?
That is the unknown knower. Unknown knower is not very clear.
What is that? I didn't get it. I didn't get your question.
Unknown knower.
Can somebody repeat it for me?
Yeah.
She's not clear. She's not clear about the statement, the unknown knower.
The unknown knower. Okay. All right. When you say Atma has to be known, that part is clear?
Yes.
That part is clear. Atma has to be known, that is clear. Okay. Then it also says Atma is unknown. That means it is not known like other things with a subject-object relationship. Do you remember Kenopanishad? Naham manye suvedeti nona vedeti vedacha. It is known as I, but not as an object. So when you say unknown, the Shastra means it is not an object. When it is said it has to be known, the Shastra is referring to your ignorance about yourself. Therefore, when the student comes to a teacher, of course, you have to know yourself. The Shastra will talk from that standpoint. And when the Shastra is presenting the Atma as unknown, it means it is not an object of knowledge. It is I, the subject. That's why I talked all about that from I, the conscious being, how you negate everything. Because then you are not recognizing it as an object, because all that you take as an object you have negated. What is left behind is I, the subject. It's not an object of my knowledge, it's a very I subject itself. Does this make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright. So that is how you study. This is how you listen. This is how the teaching is. And that's why I said, when you do it on your own, it's Mananam. When you remain with that understanding, it's Nididhyasana. But if you have not done Shravanam, you cannot do the other two. That's why I always say, when you are discussing, etc., stick to the topic that you have done Shravanam on. You have not yet reached a level where you can take up a text that you have not studied and understand it. Unless it's a Prakarana Grantha like Aprokshanabhuti or something like that. That you all can do. Any Prakarana Grantha you can take up and discuss. But I see people trying to discuss Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya, etc., where they are not. Get confused. Because then you have to rely, you don't have that much of Sanskrit with you. And if you don't have Sanskrit, you have to rely on some translation. Most translations are done by non-traditional people. So you'll end up with greater confusion. I was, after sitting 10 years in my class, we should not have the confusion between knowledge and ignorance at least. I mean, experience and knowledge. Recognition and experience, you should not have a confusion. But if people are having that, it shows what I'm saying is right. So I want you all to think about it. Think about what he has said here, okay? In 71, that how neti neti iti vakyataha, from the self you have negated everything, from the totality you have negated everything, what remains is one consciousness alone. Think about it, and then next class we will see more about it. If you have any questions, please come. I am not against any type of question, because at least I can resolve that. Okay? Resolve that. So don't hesitate to ask a question. That's fine. Even the whole class goes in questions, I'm okay. If you don't do a single verse, I'm okay with that. Okay? But follow what I'm saying and study accordingly. Yeah. Good place to stop. Om Tat Sat.